Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our How To Corner. And in today's episode, we have a very special episode today. We're going to discuss how to become a better basketball player. But before we get started, everyone, please like, share, subscribe, comment, as well as let us know of any topics that you want us to discuss. And my name is Will Gray, and let's get into the episode. Today's episode, we're going to cover a few points here. Um, Pretty much, these are the foundational things that I think are super important to becoming a better basketball player. The first one is get stronger. The second one is work on your fundamentals. And the third is build your confidence. There's different ways to do all of these things, but these are the most important things in order to become a better basketball player. Now, let's start with the get stronger part, okay? One thing is for certain upper body strength, lower body strength, as well as implementing functional lifts is a great way to improve on becoming a better basketball player. Your upper body strength ties into your shooting range, your durability, and finishing at the rim. Your lower body strength can also tie into your shooting range, also, but we're talking about it from a standpoint of balance, explosion, and preventing injury of the lower extremities, as well as your functional lifts can help you become quicker, more agile, and dunk more, meaning that you do a lot of strengthening exercises that actually directly apply to what you're doing, like a lot of cutting, jelly ladder work, a lot of jump training, a lot of one-legged, activities where you jump land. You do a lot of things to be able to improve your actual ability to be able to play. Now, the next thing is your fundamentals. Now, I'm going to stay here for a little while because I think the strengthening portion is important, but I think the fundamental portion is super important because that is pretty much what is being lacked for the most part when it comes to a lot of basketball players in this day and time. And the reason for that is because everybody is so quote unquote hung up on shooting that they forget the other pieces of your actual fundamentals that you need to work on. And as a result, a lot of kids are under the impression, as well as coaches, that the kid thinks if I can shoot, I can play. The coach wants to control all aspects of the development to help the actual team win. So there's a lot of individual development that does not occur. And that is the one thing that I think is hindering the development of the overall athlete. So let's talk about shooting. You want to make sure you're shooting with the correct form. You want to make sure you're shooting about 200 plus shots a session. And then you're trying to develop some consistency while doing so. The reason that these things are important with shooting, because shooting obviously is a major part of the game. But just because you can shoot doesn't mean you can play. Like you can shoot horribly and play well. Like there's so many other aspects of basketball. Like you may not shoot your jumper great that game, but you still make layups. You get to the free throw line. You still impact the game. You play great defense, rebound the ball. You're able to do your job to actually contribute to the overall winning of the team. And then the second piece is the footwork. Now, I'm gonna say this, and I may get some people who's gonna push back on this, and I'm okay. The one thing that bothers me the most is this: the lack of footwork that's actually in the game. There's a lot of run past people. There's a lot of athleticism. That's cool. It's very entertaining. But when the game slows down, because it always slows down at some particular point in time, or when the game becomes a game of everybody has the same level of athleticism, then the separation is in the skill. The one thing that happens over here in this country, which has hindered a lot of development, is the fact that um, a lot of coaches and players are under the impression that you should just play more basketball. Keyword, just play more basketball. And I think that's not the best formula in this day and time because a lot of those actual runs now, especially in the United States, there are a lot of low level runs. So a lot of bad habits that get built up. Where at one point in time, you have certain gyms and certain places in every particular state or every part of the country that there are some of the high level runs or some very good runs where a lot of younger players could eventually get into the run and could develop themselves because you're going against not just players who have bad habits, you're going against some of the best players. So there's actually moments within that you can actually become better because it's going to test different parts of your game. Like, for instance, if you're not a great defender, or as the kids like to say, you look like food out there, there's going to be a lot of isolation that's going to happen where you're going to have to defend the person. If you can't defend, it's going to be very, very hard for you to get out of that. It's going to be very, very hard for you to show back up to the court unless you can improve on your defense because they'll just take you out the game by putting you in a situation where you have to defend. Now, the great thing about that, if you're in the right community doing that type of activity where you're having struggles with defense and somebody can pull you to the side and say, hey, man, you really need to work on this. You may want to have a plan. They're contributing to your development by teaching you the game, but it's not in a setting that a coach is there. What I mean by that, there's too much structure and there's not enough, quote unquote, how can I say, honest development going on. There's group development, but what happens when some person is lagging behind the group or someone is in front of the group? Those individual players need other things. So, footwork, right, is something that's uber important, and just playing pickup is not going to get it here. In a lot of other countries, they practice way more than they actually um, play basketball games. Like AAU is not AAU anymore. It's not. I've been to a lot of AAU games or quote unquote AAU games or quote unquote summer ball. It is some of the worst basketball I've seen in my life. And at the end of the day, it's not conducive to them having, quote unquote development going on. You have to be on certain teams, certain circuits, and then even with that, it's about winning. So like, there's a lot of stuff that just comes into play where it can really affect the development. But if you're an athlete and you're watching this video, your footwork, which helps with your lateral movement, turning your hips, and then complex footwork, will allow you to become a better basketball player almost instantaneously. Like, you can almost become a better basketball player like within a month or so if your footwork improves. It'll make you a better defender. It'll make you a better attacker of the basket. And then, not to mention, it'll put you in a place where you have better balance. So when you're doing certain things or making certain moves or trying to shoot certain shots or trying to get better in your triple threat and stuff like that, or be trying to be or trying to actually stop or contain an opposing offensive player, you're not at a disadvantage of where you have bad footwork. And honestly, it totally affects your game. Right now, this last little piece of fundamentals, passing, never gets worked on, and it's kind of funny because nobody knows how to post pass anymore. Everybody. Everybody is very limited in the thought process of how to actually train that because the game is not a post game. And then when I say post pass, I don't mean just throwing a ball to the block, meaning making good passes into the lane, whatever that could be. Off a screen and roll, it's the same thing. When he rolls, there's a certain touch or a certain pass that has to happen. There's way too much bounce passing going on. It's just way too much bounce passing. There's not enough actual passes to the basket that have been worked on. There's not enough chest passing, not enough actual, ability to be able to read defenses and be able to make the right pass off certain dribbles, different angles, so not enough opposite or weak hand passing that's being worked on. And so you have a lot of kids that can shoot, but can dribble a little bit, can't pass because all the sessions are one-on-one sessions, and then their footwork's bad, and then they play against an older generation of player, and they just get totally demolished. And then that leads me to this second piece. I mean, this last piece, this third piece, which is it starts to affect their confidence. Confidence is the difference between good and great players. If your confidence starts to wane, you can watch any YouTube podcast with NBA players. If they ever had an issue with their confidence, it affects your play in its entirety. Doesn't matter how much fundamental you have in your game. If you do not have confidence in what you have developed or doing, then guess what? You're not going to play well. How do you build confidence? Work on your game. Specifically, work on getting stronger, lower body, upper body, and doing functional lifts. Secondly, work on the fundamentals of your game, the boring things that's not that cool. And then work on your weaknesses within all of that. If I know my legs are weak as crap, I need to work on that. If I know my left hand and I'm right handed, my left hand is weak as crap, I need to just work on left hand everything. Pickups, escape dribbles, manipulating the ball on the way to the basket. How can I finish left side left hand? How can I finish on across the lane on the left side of the glass? How can I finish left hand front rim? What's my floater? What's my pass like going that way? How do I actually prevent somebody trying to get to the ball to get back to my right hand after I go left? And then play against better talent. Like there's not enough talent being played against, right? Just not. And that's because for the most part, there's a lot of teams that kind of have a lot of talent on the teams, but you never go out and about and just play against each other like enough. Like so, what I mean by that, I go in the gym, especially here in the state, Mississippi. I'll go in the gym and I'll just sit on the bleachers, and then I see a team that's loaded with talent playing against a team that's like horrible, and I'm just like, all right, you all just having fun today because this is obviously not basketball. So the assumption in me is okay, cool, they're just chilling today. There's no big deal. And then I go in the gym one day and I see the same thing. And I go another day, I see the same thing. And I'm just like, oh, so they're just this is what it is. It's just load the team up, win the games. Okay, great. So once we get equal talent on the floor, I'm expecting you all to struggle. And for the most part, it happens more often than I would like to admit. And I hope that guys will want to balance teams out to be able to get a good competitive matchup where there's close games, which will help you become a better player. If you're playing against your teammates or your friends or whoever, and they know your weaknesses, they're probably going to make you play a different way. It's going to help your game. And then last but not least, put yourself in uncomfortable situations, whatever that means, right? Maybe I'm going to go play with an older group of guys who I know play half court, and I hate guarding a big guard that likes to post up. Just hate it, right? Hell, you may need to guard them. You know, you may need that actual interaction. Sometimes not even about stopping a post up. It's about just building some toughness, being accustomed to that. If you know that you need to play against somebody who plays in the pick and roll a lot because that's pretty much what you struggle with, chasing screens and or understand how to get over a screen and then understanding how to be able to chase a guy off a pin down or something like that. You need to play in a gym that plays actual basketball. Then dang it, that's what you may need to do. You may need to go find runs that man. They screen a lot out here. And I know it's going to be like tough, but I kind of need to work on that. And then the last part, which is watch yourself play, critique your game, not just celebrate it. There are too many highlights and not enough lowlights that we sit here and look and say, hey, I wonder how I could have made that a better play. Enjoy the game, have fun, right? Like love your highlights, but enjoy your lowlights just as much and say, hey man, I suck there. Like watch yourself play. There's too many people who play this game at this day and time, from the high school level to the college level, who do not watch basketball. And it's because people want to say, well, it's generational or whatever. That's cool. It's a reason why in a lot of states basketball is so poor. People do not watch themselves play or even watch the game. It just don't. There's a handful of kids that do. I commend you guys. I promise you. Like, I know some of you all personally. Like, so I know some kids who really watch the game, but for the most part, people don't watch themselves play and critique it or sit with somebody who can actually give them some feedback that could be like, hey man, how do I become better? Like thing like what happened there? Like what did I not see? Right? And now go and do it. Just go do it. Build your strength, work on your fundamentals, build your confidence, and do it as much as possible, as often as possible. Put as many hours in as you possibly can, and that will get you to becoming a better basketball player. For everybody who made it to the end of the episode, thank you so much. Like, share, subscribe, tune into our podcast, Will's World, Your World Overall, where we talk about a lot of mental health things, a lot of positive thinking. We also question certain things or we challenge people on certain things. And then follow us on all the platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Go visit our website below. If you have any questions about how to get better or you want to start training with one of the actual people here, one of our trainers, then let us know. We'll get you locked in with some people. We have people who do baseball, basketball, and football, as well as we do softball too, depending on what you're trying to actually accomplish. And I have somebody who we know who's a great softball person that we can put you in contact with. So if you have any questions, you want to know anything, you want to reach out to us, please give us a shout. And with that being said, hope you have a blessed one. I'll catch you in the next one.